Welcome back to the Two Blues podcast and another live episode joined by my co-host, Mr. C Money Picks, where today we will be recapping, reviewing the entirety of Chelsea's preseason and assessing just how ready we are for Manchester City in 4 days, 4 or 5 days. There is a very, very limited amount of time between now and our first game of the Premier League season, but we're here to break it down with you, to talk transfers. There has been so much going on with Chelsea this week. So we've called it a pre-season recap or review, but this is just a what in the bloody hell is going on at Chelsea at the moment video. C-Money, I don't know where to start. We might as well start at pre-season, start with the Inter game. I mean, what was it? One win in pre-season? Another draw against Inter. But let's just say marginal improvements, it does seem like.
Yeah, I was going to say, like going 2-0 down and then just kind of recouping, kind of fighting back and then clawing a draw. It's not necessarily a bad look. I thought the football was actually all right, to be fair, particularly shocking. Once we've gone a goal down, we've managed to try and get the gears moving. But it seems to be the common trend of the harder the opposition we play, the better we do. I don't know if I like the mentality. I don't hate it. I definitely don't love it, though. It seems to be, we need to have the pressure on. The water's got to be boiling before we actually start throwing things into the fire. And, it is what it is. We played well without Palmer. We played well without Jackson, without Nkunks. Like, it's been looking solid, but there's a reason why all these signings are coming in. It just doesn't feel finished. It doesn't feel polished. And, as you said, with City in 4 days, it's going to be really interesting to even see the lineup. Something that we've been going back and forward on this week is what is our lineup? Who plays for Chelsea right now? What is the squad that we've assembled? And, I think that pre-season has been overwhelmingly a lot more negative than it was last year. I feel like we answered a couple of questions. I feel like we've got more questions asked now than we have answered over the preseason period. So yeah, man, the harder the opposition, the harder we fight, the more we like to kick ball. It's just an awkward one, isn't it? Because we would have expected a lot more out of this preseason, but now as I said, we're just left with the carrot on the string. We're just dangling over our head of who is our starting 11. How does Enzo want to line up going into the beginning of the season, particularly with the hardest game of the season, arguably being the first game we play in City.
It's a very, very interesting point, and I suppose let's kind of go through the team, because I wouldn't expect the team to play Man City to be that different to the team that did start against Inter Milan, no better place to start than the back. Now, I was fully expecting, after he got his first minutes against Real Madrid, I was fully was it Real Madrid? Philip Jorgensen played against Real, whoever it was. He played in the game before Inter Milan.
Real Madrid.
I fully expected him to play again against Inter, but he's gone back to Sanchez. Sanchez I think Sanchez will start. I don't understand why we've gone all out for another goalkeeper in Philip Jorgensen, and after one game he's reverted back. I've just got a bad feeling that Robert Sanchez is going to be on number one.
Yeah, and especially after you said it, the Jorgensen game, it wasn't like he made any crazy mistakes. He didn't have much to do, but the goals that were conceded, it's sort of defensive errors, and what can you do? He's the last man there in the stick, so it is a bit unfair for him to be given one game and then revert back to what we know in Robert Sanchez, who's very up and down, light skin saves. You know how it be with Sanchez, but it seems like he's going to be the one that's called up to play against City. And I think that's why they played him against Real Madrid, just to get him back into the fold. So it is interesting, especially with 8 goalkeepers on the books at the minute. Oh, that was it, 2-1. It just seems like we've gone all out to getting another goalkeeper to make the decision, but we've got 8 on the books, and I couldn't tell you which one of, which 3 are going to be planned on staying long term. I think the idea is going to be Sanchez, Petrovic, and Jorgensen, but we only need one of them. So to have 3 that are relatively starting quality, you can argue maybe Sanchez isn't ready to be starting, but I thought Petrovic is the better of the 2 out of them. So it's interesting, isn't it? Especially with Jorgensen coming into the fold, you would have expected him to kind of come and outs both of them, but it looks like he's third in the pile at the minute. So I don't really understand what's going on, particularly with the goalkeeper situation.
Yeah, considering that we have ousted him, considering that we have kind of quite publicly made it so that Sanchez and Jorgensen are competing for our number one. I think there were a couple of rumors that, I mean, it might have been, I might get this wrong, but Fiorentina, Sampdoria, a couple of Italian clubs were interested in Petrovic, and we were confident that we could make a profit on him. But I haven't seen anything from it. I haven't seen any developments.
Nothing.
Anybody putting in a bid? We've
Yeah.
got 15 days left, and it's not a big problem now because when you look at the squad of those 8-9 goalkeepers on the books, as you said, I only expect 3 of them to play a part in Chelsea's squad this season. We'll have Sanchez and Jorgensen, who are fighting for that number one position, and I would expect Bettinelli to be the backup, the number 3, just in case shit does hit the fan. But at this point, if we don't find a solution, and obviously, they can bend the rules in terms of the deadline with loan moves or whatever, but I don't think Sanchez would want to go out. Petrovic would want to go out on loan. I think given the fact that he's come in and done well, I think I wouldn't
Why?
want to
Yeah,
go out and
I agree.
stagnate
Yeah.
for a year and then come back to this situation. I would want to actively find another club. So I'm a little bit
Yeah.
surprised that we haven't heard a little bit more movement on that. But not that the goalkeeper position, although it's a conversation and we have no idea who's going to start, the goalkeeper position I don't think is the biggest problem. The biggest problem definitively in this Chelsea side, and it goes for the starting lineup, it goes for the preseason, it goes for it's the underlying theme of today's video. Our centre backs are not ready, and we have no idea who our best centre back partnership is. And I'm curious to get your 2 cents on it. Who do you think, assuming that he will line up with a back 4 with Cucurella at left back and Malo Gusto at right back in the absence of Reece James, who starts in those centre back positions? Who has earned their right to play in preseason? Because I'm drawing blanks.
Yeah, no, it's I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, and you look at the plan, it seems to be Gilchrist has gone on loan to Sheffield. I like the idea of Colwill trying to hold down that position, but super irregular, injured up and down, performances go up and down. Wes Fofana's kind of the sit like I've always said that Colwill and Fofana is my long-term idea for 2 centre backs, but it just can't work. One's always going to be injured, one's always going to be underperforming. They're just,
do you
it's
think
like more
can't work,
James
or do you think hasn't worked so far and still could work, or do you think we've tried it enough times to know definitively Colwill and Fofana does not work? Do you think you've already made
the thing
that decision?
It's weird because I still think that there is a possibility for it to work. I feel like we've never actually had them both in full fitness, both with full ability, playing next to each other in the tag. Like we've not had that yet, and that's what I want to see. Is how do they play when they're fully fit next to each other? They've played a few games, so there's confidence there, there's match fitness there, and it just always seems like one will come in when one's just come one's been there for a minute, so the other one's going to come back into the rotation where this one gets injured and he's out, and then Badia Shield steps in and that partnership grows. And with last season, we had Thiago Silva holding down that rock centre back number 2 that we needed. So that was it was a blessing at the time, but going forward into this season when we knew he was going to go, it became a bit of a curse because now we haven't had that symbiotic sort of partnership in the young centre backs that could play. My young English pairing. So it's just interesting to see how this season's going to shape up because
all the OGs. It even took me a minute. All the OGs.
Yeah, the OGs know. But listen, I just feel like with the Badia Shield and the Thiago Silva and these players that we've wanted to hold down their position, we've never seen the two of them symbiotically fit playing together. So I still think that there is a potential, and it is still my ideal partnership. I really highly rate both of those players, but obviously it's just having more of the same Reece James problem, which what I was going to say a second ago. It feels the same thing with the Malo Gusto Reece James situation. Obviously, I prefer Reece, but when he comes back in and then he goes back out for another 3 months, I would just rather Malo Gusto was consistent 8 out of 10 every week rather than Reece James who can drop you 2 9s, a 6, and then go away for a month, So it's, I don't know. I genuinely don't know, the same as you. And the interesting part about this is you look at our transfer window and it's Samu, it's Joao Felix, it's Pedro Neto. Where are the centre backs at? You know what I mean? It's Osimhen, it's Vlahovic, it's all of the where Conor Gallagher's going out. What are we doing centre back wise? What I just saw an article about Rafael Varane going to Como.
Maximum goals.
It's almost like we're not the worst team in the Premier League at defending corners. You know what I mean? It's like I don't know what the boardroom tactics are. I don't know have you seen the statistic of overall transfers from Premier League teams in history? Todd Bowley's Chelsea is 8th. This is the level of desperation that we're at. Yeah, Todd Bowley
That is
has spent
crazy. That
more
is
than Leeds United
crazy.
have in their transfer history, and they're one of the biggest English clubs of all time. You know what I mean? And
What's
like,
that in
say what you
3
want about
windows,
Yo-Yo.
4 windows?
In 3 windows, he spent more than the history of Leeds United. It's absolutely insane. It's borderline insanity, and I'll get the graphic up after this so we can show it next week or on our next stream tomorrow. But it's borderline nonsense. You know what I mean? The players that we're getting in and out, the transfers we're making. Like, bro, think about the hundreds and hundreds of millions that we spend on individual players that end up not having anything about them. I mean, Kepa's not a Todd Bowley original, but it feels like it. You know what I mean? It feels like it. That's the level of transfer we're dipping to.
Yeah.
And when we got in this new ownership, I figured that the one thing that we're going to get rid of from the Abramovich era was reckless signings. And this is someone that wants to do the Moneyball approach. You know what I mean? And get players in who are good on paper that we can really bring the best out of and are undervalued in the market. But we've done the fucking opposite. We've just bought a bunch of overvalued players and spent 35 million on 9 goal a season strikers. And then that transfer falls through out of us being the disrespectful one. It's like, it's mental.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's fucking insane, man.
It is interesting because as you've said, the majority of defenders that we've signed this year have been future defenders with a view to go out, and they've gone out immediately. Aaron Anselmino gone straight back to Boca Juniors. Even if he joined the squad, he was never going to be a starting centre back. He's only played 3 senior games in his life. Caleb Wiley, left back, right back. I think he's a right back. I can't remember. Wherever he is, he's gone straight out on loan to Strasbourg. You know, he's not with a view to join this team straight away. These Chelsea, you're bang on with what you've said there, is the Moneyball approach. They're doing all this statistical analysis, all this research, and they're making minimal profit. And I just want to say, I feel so bad for Diego Moreira, who we bought in on a free from Benfica.
Yeah.
We promised him the world, promised him development, and we've just flipped him for 1.7 mil. On the books, that's fantastic. 1.7 mil profit. Are you absolutely dumb? I would kill to have 1.7 mil profit on a trade in 24 months. But Diego Moreira, have we really just halted this guy's career for 2 years? He was one of the big things coming out of Benfica, and he's been sitting in our development squad for the best part of, for 12 months now. And we've just sent him on loan to Strasbourg. He may well do it well on Strasbourg. We may have a buyback clause in him, but I just do think with a lot of these players, you know, we're hearing rumours this week that Noni Madueke and Carney Chukwuemeka could both go. And the fees that we're hearing for them are exactly the same as what we paid for them. The fee for Carney Chukwuemeka is 20 mil. And the fee for Noni Madueke is 35 mil. How are we not even trying to charge profit on players that have been successful for us?
I've been good.
Realistically, if you look at the players in the teams, Carney Chukwuemeka and Noni Madueke should have increased their value, should have boosted their prices. But the business that we're doing, I just feel like we're prioritizing the shot. And I know they've got a long-term 3-5 year plan, but I just feel like they're prioritizing they're not prioritizing. Yeah, they're looking too long term. And the perfect example of this is the news today that Cole Palmer's just signed a contract extension.
No complaint.
Before we let that sink in, the contract extension is from 2031 to 2033.
Why?
Brother, that is 7 years away. Why are you getting? It's not like we're going to lose value on him. It's not like we need to just increase his salary. You don't need to make him sign on for another 2 years. I just feel like, why are you trying to lock players down until they're 34, 35? Because they're never going to last until then. And I know maybe it's to keep salaries, fairly consistent, whatever it is. I just feel like these loopholes at some point, we're going to get to the point where we look at this squad and go, fuck, we have 60 players contracted until 2030. We cannot afford to release these players. It costs money to release these players. They're more than happy to sit there and collect 150 grand. So I do have some concerns with the recruitment, but the main concern, kind of just reverting back to your point, is the defensive signings we've made have been going out on loan. And the only defensive signing that we made was our first signing, if I'm not wrong, in Tosin Adarabioyo. A free transfer from Fulham. He was supposed to be an experienced Premier League proven player. I was quite excited to see him come in on a free because I thought, although he's couldn't lace Thiago Silva's boots, no one can. He's very well placed in this situation in terms of free transfers who we could have got. Very well placed to replace Thiago Silva, but he's come in, played 2 games, haven't really been that sold of him, and then like you said earlier, Rafael Varane, Mats Hummels. There are players out there of a world-class pedigree. They may not be top 10 defenders in the world now, but they have been in the past, and they have that experience, the know-how. And it's like Todd Bowley is turning his nose up at that because of a potential 200 grand salary. He's not thinking that, hang on a minute, if I'm signing Mykhailo Mudryk on 100 grand for 8 years, that's more money than signing Rafael Varane on 300 grand for a year. Like, I don't understand how these show how they're doing the finances, and we're never going to see the accounts. But a lot of, and I go back to what you said about the money ball approach. I understand that. I expected it. I don't feel like the players they're picking out have the CVs that we thought they would.
And this is the wildest part to me. It's almost like we're forgetting about the actual football itself. You know, we're treating like Chelsea Business Club as one thing, but in the end of the day, it's Chelsea Football Club. We've got to go in there and we've got to play, 38 games of Premier League football. We've got to play Conference League football. And we've got to play at a high level. We've got Man City on game 1, and we've got Tosin Adebayo as our most experienced centre-back who never played a game in the Premier League for Chelsea. So it's over baffling to me how we're making these almost like Pedro Neto is a good example of this, right? I think he's a fantastic player. I think he's a good player. I think he's going to make a massive difference. I think he's going to hold down a starting spot, and it's probably going to mean the end of Mykhailo Mudryk, right? At the same time, even though he's Premier League proven, that's not what we needed. It seems like it's a transfer that's made to kind of silence people. Look, we've made a fun transfer. We made a good transfer. We made a transfer that the fans want. And it's like, yeah, we want to see that, but that's not what we need right now. We need the boring transfers. Yeah. We need the annoying 31-year-old centre-back who's going, like when Thiago Silva came in, we all went, because we know that this is a player who can play at a really high level, really well, like really positive for the young players. This is really good boardroom stuff. And it's not sexy transfers, you know what I mean? This isn't like it wasn't like, wow, like finger licking, we bought Cristiano Ronaldo, but it did the job. And he did exactly what we expected him to do for as long as we expected him to do, at the level we expected him to. He left when we expected him to, and we haven't replaced him when the fans have expected a replacement. Everything's been done bar what we needed to do right at the very end. And it's frustrating. It's extremely frustrating. And listen, we could look at this video in 6 months and laugh because we've conceded 12 goals and Tosin's been player of the month every single month.
Video on what, bro?
After we've conceded only 12 goals and Tosin's been player of the month every season.
You said laugh, bro. You said laugh. How long have you been in Leeds, bro?
Oh, no. Oh, that's mental. That's crazy.
I've got someone flip it!
Laugh.
Bro, laugh. Not even
laugh.
Not just
Funny,
straight Northern, bro.
Laugh. He hit it in. He
transfer.
He got it in.
Chance has gone to the north, bro.
The Leeds United, yeah. He's so bad. So bad! But listen, we're going to sit here, we're going to laugh about this. When we've conceded 12 goals and Tosin has been player of the month every month for the next 3 months. But I don't see it. I don't see a world where this is a reality. And it's just frustrating because they know what we need. We know what we need. And it's not Kendry Paez. And I love the idea of signing Kendry Paez. It's not Pedro Neto. And I love the idea of it. And it's like, what we need is, we don't need a 2-year contract extension on Cole Palmer. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love it, but it's not what we need. And I think that's the overall gist. It's a bunch of things that we like as fans, but it's not what we're needing right now. And I don't understand why the clarity is not clear.
100%. Great moves, but in the context of the club and the squad at the moment, when you look at those squad players, it's just not what we need. But just on that, I mean, I know you gave your initial reaction there. Yeah, talk to me about Pedro Neto, bro, because that came out of there is very few transfers these days that come out of absolutely nowhere. But as you said there, I'm definite starter. Time's up for Mykhailo Mudryk. Time's up for Raheem Sterling. He can go to Juve.
Sterling gone.
Mykhailo Mudryk, unfortunately, that is it for him. Your front three. I mean, my front three for Man City. I mean, ideally it would have been Jackson, but Jackson hasn't had enough minutes in pre-season. So I'm going Nkunku up top, Palmer on the right, Pedro Neto on the left. He goes straight into that team, man.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think that, Nkunku, And Kunku Neto and Palmer, bombo clock. That's a front three,
See,
bro.
that's a free. See, that's a front
That's a
three.
three. And that's what I'm saying. It's no like,
Never look at João Felix off the bench.
and a little TT João. And this is the thing. I fucking loved João Felix when he was at us the first time. He hates sports, bro. It's in the game. And I can't wait to see him back in, with the confidence. He knows how to turn on a defender. He's creative. He doesn't mind passing it out wide. I think him and Palmer, like, when you look at the styles on paper, ooh, they're going to cook, boy. They're going to cook. Like,
there's a lot
with
of
Palmer
technical players in that.
Do you know what it is? It's because Palmer just makes that run. And I think when Joao was there, like, he would look around and it would be like Sterling, you know what I mean? Like, trying to make that bombing run, but then he just cuts in and fucking whacks it over the bar. Palmer's the type of player to continue that run and find the bottom bins and shoot and look back for Joao Felix, who always makes that little creepy back run and he never gets the ball back from that little run around the back. So it's going to be nice to see how we form up in going forward. And, Pedro Neto, and this is the thing with Neto, is like, imagine we didn't have to worry about Mudrik's confidence and we don't have to worry about his lack of Premier League ability. It's just Pedro Neto. And it's actually cheaper than Mudryk long term. So I don't understand why this wasn't the initial play, So this is fantastic business. An amazing Premier League proven player who's waited for a top 6 side to come in and bite his hand off. We're lucky enough that it's us. I think City would have been a great move for him as well. And anytime you say that about a player that's joined your club, it's usually a good thing. And yeah, man, now
another winger that was linked to Arsenal for the longest.
For the longest moment, bro, but they can't get it over the line. I'm telling you, bro, we could come 13th at the end of the season. We'll get whoever they want, bro. Nothing changes, bro. But this is the thing. I woke up this morning to news that we were looking at Oscar Bob. And the first thing I did was go, and then I went, wait a minute, what? We're doing another attacking player, bro. And why? I don't get it, bro. You just want to do Palmer too. They want Cole Palmer too. I get it. Like, it's fun. But we don't need it right now, bro. And I think that this is the main thing that I've learned over this transfer window is we've just got a massive wood, but we just don't know how to lay pipe. And I think that's the best way of putting it, bro. Like, just got massive wood.
All the gear and no idea would have been a more, would have been a more safe for work. But all the pipe, all the wood and no
lay. But I don't know, bro. We'll figure it out, blood. But listen. Clip it again, but
all the pipe, zero risk, negative risk.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Sin City was not made for us, bro, and I can't help but be really happy with this transfer window, as well as being really frustrated. One thing I'll throw back at you, Dan. What's your opinion on the Conor Gallagher situation? He's on a plane back right now, so I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, so I was going to touch on this because we've got kind of one more problem to address in the starting lineup, but yeah, literally as we were starting, because let's be honest, I think Fab is probably the best, even though here we go this and the Samuel Moradion deal. Come on, Fab, man, what's going on? Two big fucking
he's not wrong.
Drop there.
He says not even, because he says here we go when the medical's been complete, and he did it after the medical was complete. So fair enough.
Yeah, but
here
we go means. The
it
deal
used to be
here we go is like his trademark of the deal is done. As of I think it was 50 odd minutes ago, exclusive Conor Gallagher on his way back to London on a private flight now. Why the fuck are we giving him a private flight? Put him on fucking coat. Put him on Wizz Air, bro.
Slap him in fucking
put that guy in the back, bro. Put that guy in the back row. No leg room, no baggage.
I'm thinking the opposite, bro. I think we get topical with it. I think we slap him on a little banana boat and make him go in from Calais, bro. I can't cap. I think we make him do the whole journey, bro. He wants to act like a little donut. We can do the donut thing, bro. We can do that happily. But I think it might be a bit of a blessing in disguise if he comes back. I feel like we've always benefited from that chaotic.
Do you think he could come back? Because I personally think there is no way back. Really?
No, I think that there is a room.
After he turned down the contract on the table. Do you think Chelsea are going to pull out the same contract?
If all of this, I don't know what is stopping it. If it's him, if it's Atleti, it's not Chelsea. I'll tell you that much. But if it's him, if it's Atleti, something's getting involved. Something's stopping this from crossing the line. And either way, I think it's going to end with he's still on our books, and then we try and push him out in January. But in that 3-month period, I can see him getting game time. I don't see him getting just slapped on the bench. You have to remember, he wore the armband. He played 43 out of 44 last season. There's a lot of positives about having him in the club, you know what I mean? So Mr. Chelsea's probably
The
the
thing,
only player there that you could have that Mr. Chelsea tag to.
yeah, the thing I don't like is the fact that I don't understand when deals hinge on each other, when they say this deal is relying on this other deal to come through, because Atletico Madrid have just signed Julian Alvarez for 90 odd mil. You know, if
Yeah,
they had financial concerns, they wouldn't have done that
they
because
wouldn't have
that
done
didn't
that yet.
hinge on anything else. So I think from my understanding, and obviously we have no real idea, you know, we just get told what aggregators and journalists and whatever report. My understanding of the situation is, and I have no idea why the Samu Dion deal fell out, but that deal obviously collapsed, and Chelsea have
Oh,
then
I'll
gone
tell
and
you,
said, right, okay,
I know why that is.
go on.
I know why that is. So the Samu deal fell apart. He did the medical, everything, signed the contract. He was happy, and then Chelsea, or apparently Todd Bowley or someone to do with Clearlake, tried to add like last minute clauses into the deal where they owned 50% of the rights to his name, Samu Dion. And he was like, "Nah, this is not the fucking 1400s, but you can't just own 50% of my name in my
Can't own
person."
man, bro. You can't own man.
Can't you can't own me, bro. Like what? So then he just completely flat out denied the deal and said, "I'm not doing that." And then they were like, "Okay,
Swear.
well, da da da," and they're backtracking. And then Sammy just found it offensive and then backed out of the deal himself. That's what I've heard.
Well, that I mean, that is in line with what I've heard, because the general consensus is everybody is very, very pissed off at Chelsea. The last thing that I'd heard is obviously the Omora Dion deal had collapsed, and then Chelsea had gone through and said, all right, we'll take João Felix instead, but with exactly the same proposal as they had put on the table for Omora Dion. And Atletico Madrid turned around and went, hang on a minute, João Felix is worth 3-4 times what Omora Dion is worth. So the gap in valuation, and I think there was a tweet or something along the lines of the gap in valuation, the valuation of João Felix, the salary, the commission of the agent. There are many points to clarify on this story. Atletico are aware Chelsea believe that Felix is no longer part of their plan. So, and that would obviously play into Chelsea's, the fact that they have washed their hands of João Felix. He's had 3 loan moves. They are intent to get rid of him. Chelsea are holding the cards in this situation, whereby they have Gallagher, a player that Atletico Madrid want, and Atletico Madrid want to get rid of a player, and Chelsea aren't willing to pay their asking price. And there's a lot of moving parts. I think this is going to go down to day 30, day 31. I think
Yeah,
this and the Osimhen move, Osimhen and Lukaku, because Lukaku's back at Chelsea training with the development squad. Same with Chalobah and Broja. He is not going to be happy with that. He is going to want to be pushing for a move out. But that's not going to go through unless they can get rid of Osimhen. Osimhen's not going to lower his wage concerns. PSG are now out the race because they've just gone and spunk 90 million on João Neves and 50 million on Pacho, whatever the name is. So I think there are so many. I think we are kind of just one deal, one contract being signed away from just a whole row of dominoes falling. But in terms of what you would like to happen, and this deal, obviously, in an ideal situation, do you want Gallagher to go, Gallagher to stay? Do you want João Felix to cut? What do you want out of this Atletico situation?
well, so I've heard that they're being treated as 2 separate deals, which is interesting because for me,
Yeah.
I would do Gallagher plus whatever financial discrepancy up to 15, 20 million, and then for Joao Felix on the flip, with everything being named. Charles' image rights worth at least 75. No, my thing already, Azra, bro. You already know my thing. That's double A7 right there as well. That's my left winger. But
Big up
listen,
Aaron.
I think Aaron. I think that I think that personally, I would like to see the swap deal come in. I would like to see Joao Felix back. I think that for what we need right now, I think that he's a better utilitarian sort of player than Gallagher, whose positions have kind of been filled. We've got both the sixes. We've got 3 players that can hold him down in the 6, and there ain't no way I'm having him in my 10. So he's got I don't really see a way where Conor Gallagher fits into this space anymore, and it's unfortunate because I thought he had a pretty solid season last year. But he's just so predictable, you know what I mean? Like and I think that that's a big part of why Atletico want him, because he's very easily managed, and I think that Atleti run a system that's a lot better fitting for the way that he plays football. I would like to see the deal come in. I just want to see it in a straight deal with some cash involved, and then make all of this kind of come to sense. Obviously the Osimhen Lukaku thing, there's way bigger numbers involved, so it's going to include way more sort of add-ons and bonuses, which is going to probably halt that. I don't actually see that deal coming in anymore. I don't think Osimhen's going to be a Chelsea player come September, come February. I
don't know what it is with Italian clubs offering Brock-ass fees, man. You lot are literally the home of the Godfather. You lot are the home of the mafia. The fuck you mean you've got no P to pay for Romelu Lukaku? Romelu Lukaku has played for virtually every team in Serie A. What do you mean you can't fucking afford him between years? Just fucking split the money. Fucking take custody of him. One weekend every team,
bro. Have him, bro. I'm telling you. I don't
Bobby
understand what
country, man. That's my head in.
Bro, and this is the funny thing. He's got a house in Italy, speaks fluent Italian, plays good football in the Serie A, always shows up in the Champions League with Italian sides. Someone fucking take this fat guy, bro. He doesn't work for Chelsea. Someone come and pick your mans up. Like, I don't want him at my club, and you lot want him in your club. Why can't we shake hands on it? It baffles me. And Joao Felix is kind of the opposite. You know what I mean? We've seen him struggle in Spain. We've seen him do pretty okay in England. We want him there. He's been at Chelsea. He's learned English. He's lived there. He lived in London. He likes it. It's just they don't want him. They keep throwing him out on loan, and then they want a player like Gallagher. It's just let's just make business, bro. I was up all night playing Monopoly. I know how this can get done, bro. Like, do you know what I'm saying? It just takes a deal they can't refuse. Shake hands. One of you's gonna have to take the brunt of the deal. Realistically, with the Atleti move, we've got the cards in our hand, but we've been a bit of a prick with this Samu situation, so we might have to bite our nails a little bit and take a little bit of a bite, but it's not going to be bad because we're going to end up with a solid player, get rid of some dead weight, which is what we need to do drastically. And to be honest, even if this ends with us just selling Gallagher and not getting Joao Felix, you know what? Done. I'm happy with that. I'm fine with it. So either way, I'm happy. Just get rid of Gallagher, try and do the Joao Felix, and then wipe your hands of the situation. Gone. Play ball on fucking Wednesday, on Saturday. Let's just get to it.
Yeah. The only thing I don't like, and I'll double down on it, I don't think there's any way back for Conor Gallagher at Chelsea now. I think even if Chelsea were to pull the deal back, that he turned his nose up and put that back on the table and say, look, feel free to sign this and we'll sell you again next year or try again next year. I just feel like in some way he holds a lot of the cards. Obviously, he's only got a year left on his contract. Chelsea don't want to let him go. And I feel like we could be pressured to sell him if Atletico pull out the deal, say, you know what, you fucked us around too much. And then someone like Tottenham or Villa comes in and goes, you're going to lose him. I'll give you 20 mil for him. And then we lose on a bit. And that's kind of my worst fear at the moment, that I really don't want to come to reality. But it's kind of in the back of my head with him coming back to England. I just think, if there was still a possibility to get the deal done and signed as an independent deal, he would have done it while he was in Madrid. But the fact that he's coming home, I'm not particularly excited about. But I mean, talking about centre mids and leads us nicely into our last squad problem that we haven't discussed yet, and that is the centre midfield problem. Now, this is one of the very few good problems that Chelsea currently have, is we have too many players performing in a single position. We, in this formation, are likely to line up against City with two recognised central midfielders or deeper line central midfielders. And we have three to choose from in Enzo Fernandez, Romeo Lavia and Moises Caicedo. So talk to me, bro. Out of those three, who have you liked in pre-season? Who have you not liked? What are you thinking for the start of the season? How are you seeing that?
Well, probably the best performing out of the bunch has been Lavia, but realistically, it's going to be Enzo Caicedo, isn't it? So, and that's what I prefer. I prefer the sort of higher known level of ability, especially like if I was to be picking my Chelsea lineup, they would be my 2 6s. So I want to see them against City.
Would you drop Lavia for Sunday?
Yeah, I think he gets dropped. I think that it's no fault of his own. Obviously, he's been playing at a very good level. It's just if we're going to be going off of consistency, we're looking at a 38-game stretch. We're looking at confidence and mentality. I mean, I think you get rid of either Enzo or Caicedo. I think that's going to I think that's not a good look going into that first game. So Lavia knows that he's probably got to fight a little harder than them two in terms of like earning his right into that position. So I'm sure that, he's kind of okay and accepted the fact that he probably won't start against City. Obviously, if it is shaky, we go down 2-0. I would like to see him come on. I would like to see if he can try and be that impact player, especially if we don't concede after he comes on and he's particularly aggressive in the challenge, which he can be.
It'd be nice to see, but I think that the idea is to just play Enzo and Caicedo, and I'm more than okay with that going forward. Personally, what about yourself?
I agree with you. In an ideal world, it would be Enzo Caicedo, but I can't lie, I'm not dropping Lavia Sunday. I think he has been that good. I think he's been so much better than so many other players. And I know there's the big concern of, you don't want to rush him back into it after playing, 18 Premier League minutes last season in the entire season. But I just feel like he's a lot more raring and ready to go than Caicedo. But yeah, I mean, I agree with the sentiment that long term, Enzo and Caicedo will be those sixes.
Yeah, I assume it would be taking out Caicedo and not Enzo, right? Like a Lavia for Lavio and Enzo. Yeah. Well, this is the thing.
I think Lavia and Enzo. I think he played well on Sunday. I think Enzo, even though he's not obviously hasn't got that many minutes, I just think he looks so much more up to speed than Caicedo, and obviously he offers so much more going forward. And realistically, he's the one that needs a protective midfielder. So I kind of see I don't want to say the word interchangeable, but I see Lavia and Caicedo as a lot more interchangeable than Enzo. I would kind of class him as a little bit more attacking or a little bit higher up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Well, then it interests me. How do you feel like that will affect Moises Caicedo? Not playing the first game against Man City. Massive transfer, being told that he's the main six pretty much. I'm sure that was being told to him, and now going a season later after the transfer, we got Man City, the biggest game of the season, first game, and he's dropped for Romeo Lavia. How do you feel about that? Because you have to take that into account.
It all depends on. Yeah, I think it all depends on Maresca's man management. I think if he addresses it in the right way, I don't feel like I would have a problem with turning around to all three of those or Caicedo and going, look, mate, you have had the fewest minutes out of all of them in pre-season. You very clearly need time to get back to it. I'm not saying that Lavia is better than you. I'm not ousting him out of his position. It's just right now, he is more match fit than you. We are about to get run off the fucking park by a Man City side that know what we're doing. With all due respect to Caicedo, let's remember the game where he came in, against West Ham last year. First game in a Chelsea shirt. He was fully match fit then, but he had barely a pre-season. We put him on. He conceded a penalty in 2 minutes and put in the stinker of performance. Still to this day, his worst performance in a Chelsea shirt. And that is kind of what that's what I would feel like that would be more damaging to him if he was to start another season back to where he was, and having rival fans up, same old Caicedo, New Year, same Caicedo, whatever. I feel like that would be more damaging long term than if he was to say, look, we'll bring you on at 60 odd minutes when we need a little bit more control in the game. Everyone's a little bit knackered, so you can kind of come on, run your stuff, a little bit more distribution. But yeah, I to be honest, mate, it's a difficult conversation for whoever it is, because at the end of the day, they're all top professional footballers on 100 grand plus a week, and they all want to play. Nobody is going to be happy, except Ugo Chukwu, who was having the nap of all fucking naps on the bench on Sunday. What a bloke, by the way. What a cameo performance. I think it was like 100% pass completion, take on completion, goal. Unbelievable what 12 minutes from Ugo Chukwu on Sunday. Bro, it's the power nap, bro. Maybe that's what we need to do. We need to get a little parasol over the bench and get those players power napping in the first half.
I'm telling you, bro. That's how you know Marina was doing the madness in the background, bro. I'm telling you, that man would be getting slept to sleep, bro. They would wake up match fit, ready to go 9 out of 10 every week, bro. I'm telling you, bring back Marina, bro. You see that magic's still working, bro. We just made 13 mil from that one transfer for Mark Wehi. You seen that?
What, is he gone to Newcastle?
Yeah, apparently he's gone to Newcastle and Chelsea made £13 million in add-ons because of Marina's clause in the contract.
Yeah, we had like a 25% sell-on clause for him, which was mega. You know what's nuts, though? And I don't know how they've allowed it. Brentford have let Liverpool have a 27.5% sell-on clause for Fabio Carvalho. But that's over a quarter. If you sell him for 100 mil, you've got to give them 27.5 mil. That is terrible negotiation from the Brentford boardroom. But we'll circle back a little bit because we kind of spoke about him but didn't really give an opinion. So Gabriel, who is always with us, appreciate you joining, my guy. Not sure about Felix. He's talented, but does he really offer us that? What does he really offer us that Palmer doesn't consistently? For depth, maybe, but it seems like someone we don't really need. I agree 100%, but let's be honest, every other player that Chelsea have been looking at are more at the on. Max Bayer. They've been players that Chelsea don't really need. And to be honest, if we're going to be going out and signing a squad player or someone in an attacking role that can fill in where needed, I would much more prefer a player who has A, played with us before, B, loves us, C, well, yeah, obviously tangent with the first one, but has played in the Premier League. The guy has potential. The guy is very, very good technically when played, when played in the right position, when he was given chances. Him and Enzo was a thing of beauty. The link-up play there. Can you imagine that? But not with Havertz, Mount and Gallagher, but with the front three of Palmer and Kunku and Neto. Yeah. João Felix are doing bits, bro. João Felix was, let's not forget, bros. And I know he's had a bad few years in terms of where we expected him to be. João Felix was the golden boy. João Felix went to Benfica, or went to some of Atletico from Benfica for £120 million, which was, I don't want to say a transfer record, but was fucking up there. It was one of the biggest fees we'd ever seen. And I do think that the fact that Atletico don't want him, it seems to make people think he's shit. I don't understand. He did well for Barcelona. He did well for Chelsea. And someone said the other day, he only got 4 goals in 14 games. Mate, he didn't fucking play because Lampard was playing the players that would be with us next season. And 4 goals in 14 games as a depth player, playing at number 10, is still pretty fucking good. Let's remember, Jorginho was our top scorer that season with 7 goals. So I don't understand the hate for João Felix. And honestly, I think while I understand and while I say yes, I don't think he's necessary, he's needed. And, there will be players with cheaper wages out there. I think he'd be an excellent squad addition to this team, particularly with Europe and the FIFA Club World Cup next year.
Yeah, 100%. And, it's something that I say all the time. It's about like sort of styles make fights kind of mentality of the different players you get in with their different abilities. If one player who's not necessarily good in one system, like you see the transition into another club and then all of a sudden, wow, who knew their ability that they had this whole time? Oh, what a hidden gem. Well, not really. The signs are always there. It's sort of how does that player's talents integrate with the other players around them's talents and abilities as well? You know what I mean? And you look at João Felix, a player that likes to go forward, but he the end product's never really been there for him. So he needs someone to kind of be that person and make the supporting run and then bury that. And his technicals, amazing. Dribbling around players, that kind of stuff, the pace, it's all there. Very electric young player, but it's that little bite. And, you look around him, and when he's making those runs and he's turning his head, and Palmer is darting with him, he knows, okay, I've got an option there. If this don't work, I've got Palmer to lay it off to. And then that happens, and then Palmer's able to go forward and bag it. And, you see a player like Nkunku, got a very similar sort of touch turn, wants to beat a man and play someone, but with a little bit more confidence than João Felix. So if it gets to the situation where there's 2 blocky centre-backs and it's João Felix playing off of Nkunku, I trust them to get round them. I trust him to break round them with that technical, with that pace. And once they're in front of the goalkeeper, you got to toss a coin with those players. But listen, that will come. That finishing ability will come. That's the one thing we said about Nicholas Jackson, is if he can hold off and get onside, he's going to be a player that does really well in the Premier League. And, he managed to find that towards the end. And it would be interesting to see if he could pick up where he left off, because a player like João Felix, he will get that ball in over the top. He will play that wide cross. He will cut that ball underneath the centre-backs. He will make that run. So I really like it. I feel like technically he's the type of player that can come in and bag in a young, dynamic team like Chelsea, where we're starting to play more wide and aggressive and fun. And I can agree with you to some respect, Gabriel, but I think that this is someone that, if you're going to be looking at all the players that we don't need coming in, this is one that probably we don't need, but I want. You know what I mean? Like I will take it. If we're going to do wants and needs, at least one of them's filled. When 90% of these players we're linked to, I want nor need either of them. Like Samu, you know what I mean? I didn't want or needed it, and I'll take João Felix from the same club as Samu for a similar valuation. You know what I mean? Colin was going to go anyways, so it's just interesting how this all turns.
Yeah, and obviously, like we said, I mean, that's one to watch, that whole kind of Felix Gallagher. It's going to be a big couple of days, and no doubt we were going to be back doing another impromptu live stream when something breaks. Nobody really knows. Your lot's guess is as good as ours at the moment, but obviously that one is a massive one to watch. Victor Osimhen, Romelu Lukaku, the whole kind of striker situation, another huge one to watch at Chelsea. in terms of just going back very quickly, just going back to kind of our pre-season, looking ahead to Sunday, it's a very hard question, so feel free to take a little bit of time. But if you had to rate our pre-season out of 10, what would you give it and why?
Honestly, as a fan of Chelsea Football Club, I'd give this pre-season a 4. I feel like we've actually done worse than last year, which I was pretty upset with.
100%.
And we managed to take a step backwards from that. So it's not a good look. 5 being nor good nor bad. I think it's on the slightly, on the side of bad. So I just, we don't know much. And this is the sort of where we're supposed to ask questions and then answer them. And as I said right at the beginning, I feel like we've been left with more questions than the ones that we actually initially had. I think that the transfer window has been a massive proponent in that. I think that if we had signed Pedro Neto a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, and we actually intended to buy him, and we actually got to see what he's like in the top, see what he's like playing around with the players consistently over maybe 2 games, I would be a little bit more confident. But I just can't be. I just can't rate this transfer any higher than a 4. I think that it's been awful. I think we've been turned into the laughing stock again in the public eye with the whole transfer saga coming in and out. That stat about Todd Bowley being like the 8th highest, club of all time in Premier League transfers is another thing adding to that. The results have been meaty. If the results were, better than 1 win, a draw, and then a handful of losses, if we weren't turning it on after 1-2-0 again, and only playing well against the bigger teams, even the game we won, I thought I was pretty underwhelmed by. I thought the Celtic game was absolutely abhorrent. I think a 4 is generous, to be honest, Dan. What about yourself?
I mean, I'm more positive, but not much more. I'd go for a 6, and that's the most positive because I think there has been marginal improvements, but I would not, and I am pushing for a 6 because I want to be positive. I don't want to kind of sit on the fence, but I'm not far off where you are in terms of I think we are far off where we need to be. I wanted us to be a lot more composed, a lot more comfortable in the shape and the positions. And I do feel like it is going to take a few weeks for us, if not longer, for us to kind of get our starting 11, our starting shape, and everybody's roles nailed down. But we'll finish, and we did kind of run through it earlier in quite some detail, but I'm not sure that this bloke was with us. So, final question for today. And we will, by the way, guys, this is going to be a big week of content, and this is going to be a massive fucking season of content for Two Blues podcast. We are going to be doing so many more streams. Last year, we were active. This year, we are active. I'm talking pre-match, watch along, preview, recaps. We're going to be doing live streams on the Instagram,
and
TikTok.
I'll say it publicly.
Hopefully, a live stream every day.
It will be 2 Blues podcasts this year. Wallahi Adeen, I will be here, bro. I promise. This is not 1.5 Blue podcasts. This is 2 Blue. I will be here on my mother's. And all of you can hear that, yeah? In a year's time when we got 10M, watch. But fucking, what's Ultron got for us? Hi, lads. What do you think will be the starting 11? Shout out Ultron, by the way. All my homies hate Tony Stark. With the Sunday edition of Pedro Neto and
Dr. Doom, bro. Come on.
I mean, new mask, same task.
The Latvian man, them.
Come on, Victor. But Jorgensen, 50-50. Like, I like the player. I think it's something we didn't need was an 8th goalkeeper on our books. Interesting. We actually got a 9th one signed as of last stream. I forgot his name, but there's so many players coming now. We have to sign another goalkeeper this week. Jorgensen, good player, played the 1 game. It was unfortunate to see that he didn't play the game afterwards against Real Madrid, but it is what it is. He's clearly not in the plans. He's clearly 3rd in the pecking order, even though Bettinelli's still in the club, who seems to be 3rd in the pecking order. So it's an interesting situation. He's probably going to end up on loan in January, realistically, and then come back next season where he's going to fight for a spot. But Pedro Neto is just an unnecessary sign of beauty. We didn't need him, but I'll bloody take him. I mean, he fits straight into our front three. The idea of, Neto with Nkunku and Palmer is just salivating. So I think it means the end of Mykhailo Mudryk. We were saying a bit earlier, and I think it'd be hard to disagree with that. Pedro Neto coming in is clearly the sign that we're trying to find a new home for Mykhailo. So I think that they're both positive. I think that they're both negative. They're both 50-50. You know, they've got good things about them and bad things about them. But we just need to chill with fucking transfers, I think. I think that's the main gist of what we said, pretty much.
Yeah. So the front three, I think, pretty much picks itself, as we said earlier, with Jackson's lack of minutes, it being Kunku in the number 9. You'd have Palmer out right. You'd have Neto out left. Your midfield would be Enzo and Caicedo. My midfield would be Enzo and Lavia. We'd have Cucurella left back, Gusto right back. We think, although I personally would rather have Jorgensen, I think Sanchez will start in goal. The only two that I could not give you are the centre halves. I think Levi Colwill has a good chance of being in there.
Probably, yeah.
I couldn't tell you if it'd be Fofana. I couldn't tell you if it'd be Tosin. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you. I honestly could not tell you.
And so it's known. I want it to be Colwill, and I can't get the name off my mind. I want it to be Colwill and Fofana. It's just the consistency of the pair of them playing together. You know, it's been so irregular. Can we trust that? You know, that lack of strength going into a game like City, probably need Tosin there. So I don't know. It's a difficult one, but ladies and gents, that's where you come in. What do you think? Like, tell us, let us know. Who is it for you? The centre-back pairing, it's got to be made. The decision has got to be made soon. So tell us, who are you picking? Is it the young English dynamic pairing of Fofana and Colwill? I think it's got to be. But Tosin, he's got to hold it down. It might have to happen.
Yeah, I think Buddy Ashil has unfortunately written himself off. Disassi, the other one, Disassi hasn't even played because he's been in. He's had, I think it was hernia surgery. He's had some sort of surgery. But obviously, Disassi coming back. He's 26, 27. He's the most experienced player in that Chelsea defence. I wouldn't be surprised if we look to him, maybe Tosin as well, and go with a little bit more experience. But remains to be seen, man. As Mr. C Money said, let us know your thoughts. Who should start? Who do you think will start on Sunday? And who should start? In goal, first and foremost, Jorgensen or Sanchez, and then talk to us. Who is your ideal centre-back pairing? We might have to do a video just on Chelsea's best centre-back pairing for this upcoming season. But talking of videos, talking about upcoming seasons, this week's going to be a big one. We've already gassed up the amount of content we're going to do. Thursday night, Charms and I are going to be recording it tomorrow. I'm putting myself in a fucking hole here because I've just said Thursday night, which means I've got to do an all-nighter tomorrow night. Thursday night, Premier League predictions, 24-25 season. We are going to go through the whole table, positions 1 to 20. We are going to go through top scorers, top assisters, who we think is going to get relegated, who we going to think is going to get that golden boot, clean sheets, all of that. If you like predictions, make sure you tune in on Thursday night because Lord knows we are going to have a bucket full. But we are also going to be bringing you transfer news, a transfer episode. We're going to be giving you a full preview of the Manchester City game closer to the weekend. There is so much content to be had on this channel, on this season, this year, guys. Like I said, previews, watch-alongs, post-match reactions. We're going to be doing
and
fun.
If you don't know, I'm not going to lie,
our
these
teams
videos
as well.
bang every time. If you do not know, these videos go off. And if you watch them in hindsight, it is actually kind of mad. We get a lot of the predictions bang on. Our hot takes are always the ones by the end of the season that were actually pretty valid. And the ones that we were like nailed on are always the ones that fly off the wall. So they're always brilliant, these videos, man. We've done 2 or 3 of them
we do need to do a recap of where we were last year. But yeah, let's not forget. And if there is one video that I would recommend anybody who is new to this channel to go and watch one of our earliest videos. It was when we were doing the Expert Football Podcast and we did an interview with Rob Heath, Man United Academy scout, and we asked him who the one player in Man United's academy would be. And we spoke for about 20 minutes on the one, the only Kobe Mainoo before he had even made his debut for Manchester United. So Charms is right. We know ball. This channel knows ball. And we are going to be talking about nothing else for the next 365 plus days. Come on, man. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel at Two Blues Podcast on the Instagram and the TikTok. Ultron, appreciate you joining, my guy. First time listener. Make sure you subscribe, man. We're going to be doing so much more content. And I already know you're going to love it, man. Or if you enjoyed this, man, you're going to absolutely love it.
Welcome home, baby.
One of us. One of us. Right.
Get him out. Sorry. Leeds riots tonight. It's been going mad, fam. But...
Oh, yeah. See money's proper Yorkshire now, mate. First to laugh, now the riots.
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
Go get me. Anyways, mate, I got to go on
Charles Robinson, bro. Charles
Look,
Robinson.
yo.
Right, I heard someone needs to go and pick something up from Argos. So, you lovely lot, we will see you on Thursday night. Maybe we might even do a stream on tomorrow night just to keep you lot active. But Thursday night, Premier League predictions 24-25. Be there or be a fucking banana skin.
Whoa, riots.